All right, hello everybody. It is July 11th here. It looks like the band's all back together. So anyway, a couple of things. I just got off of a reseller call where I kind of went over the consultative sales process. If any of you guys are interested in that, I will put that up in the members area for you guys. But I did it mostly for our resellers that were having trouble, creating consultative sales process. So anyway, I've got that up there for you, or I will by later this afternoon. And so anyway, just wanted to cover that. Some other stuff that we've been coming back to a couple of times. I've got a really cool video for you guys that I'm going to put up in the training area in the creation portion. And it has to do with the lead magnets, like where you're creating an opt-in and you're figuring out what to give away for your free giveaway. And what it is, it's a Kartra promotional video by Andy Jenkins. He did a promotional video actually to sell Kartra, and obviously on the back end they're providing Kartra as the delivery mechanism for the lead magnet. But he has an absolutely phenomenal training on how to identify what the best lead magnet is and how to actually produce it. So he has a really good training on that. So I figured I recorded it, and it's also available, over on Kartra as well. But I'm going to make it easy. I'm just going to record it, put it into our training area for you guys. So that's one of the things that I did want to discuss today was the lead magnets. So lead magnets, and basically lead magnets are to build your list. And this is another thing that Andy covers in that video, is how important list building is. And sometimes I forget that. I forget that really truly is the foundation of the whole thing. And Andy says, and this is so true, it's the same thing with me. Every time when I look back at how I've grown my business the fastest and the most effectively, it's always been through my in-house list. When I have a new product or a new service, I can go right out to them, and it's a great way to grow your business instead of waiting. Instead of, like, let's say you come up with a new product launch, and you go out and you advertise and you're trickling sales through. What you should be doing is you should be sending lead magnets out to build your list. So when you're ready to sell something, the list is there and it's ready to go. So the whole idea of building your list is incredibly important. If you're going to run an online business, that list is the gold. You always hear that. It's almost a cliche of, the gold is in the list, or the money's in the list. You hear that over and over, but, nobody really talks about what does that mean. What it means is a list should be segmented as well. And this is something that you learn from the ACT program, how important segmentation is. Because just one big jumbo list is not really as good as a bunch of little specific lists. So that's one thing with Kartra. Any of you guys that are using Kartra or any other follow-up marketing sequence campaign, that you can tag things. So the idea is you might have one big list, but you might have all of the people in it tagged for certain things. And if you don't, you should be doing that. You should be tagging them, because what we've learned from the ACT program, or what you guys should be up to speed on by now, is the whole idea of you're matching a market to a message. So your list might represent a bunch of different markets. Maybe it's in the same niche, but they're all different markets. Like, I use the real estate example a lot of buyer seller. And in the buyer, you've got several different segments of the buyer. You've got single mom, you've got growing family, and you've got bachelor guy. totally different conversation. You can't send the same message to all of them. It will fail. And with your list, what happens when you do that to your list, you destroy the list. Because every time someone receives an email that's not specific to them, not relevant to them, what's the chances that they're going to opt out? Pretty high. So if somebody opts out of your list, now you've just destroyed your chances of ever marketing to them again. Don't do that. Only send specific messages to specific segments of your list. This is why you want multiple lead magnets. You want different lead magnets, and every time somebody comes in with a new lead magnet, you tag them if they are interested in that. So you could have one person on your list that had 50 different tags. They might have taken you up on 50 different lead magnets. All you know about that person is they're interested in all those things. The guy right next to them in the database might only be interested in one. So you only send one to him because that's all he's interested in. Don't send out irrelevant stuff to your list or you'll destroy it. So anyway, the money in the list is absolutely true. Be careful with your list too. Your list is the most valuable asset in your online business. If you're doing joint venture deals, be very careful. If you do a joint venture and let's say, you go over to somebody that's going to send out your mail to their list and then they want you to send out their mail to your list, that can be damaging. Unless they've got something that is highly specific and you only send it to the ones that are tagged for that specificity, you will probably kill your list. That was the biggest killer for me. I did a joint venture with somebody several years back, and I had 30% of my list opted out because I sent them a mail that was not relevant. That really hurt. So, it costs you a lot of money to build the list. Most people think they advertise, they're going to run an ad, and they're going to make a sale, and it doesn't work that way. ACT marketing protocol. It's a protocol. What it does, it grabs attention, creates demand and desire, and then makes an offer. Doesn't do that all in one shot. So if you think you're going to just send people to a buy or die sales scenario and make a whole killing off the internet, you've probably got a rude awakening coming, because I haven't seen anybody that worked for them yet. Generally, the sale is several pieces down the line. The first piece is what's called a lead magnet. And the best lead magnet is something that is quickly delivered, quickly consumed, solves a problem, and creates a next step. That's creating demand and desire. When you give them the next step, they've solved the first problem. Now they're closer to their outcome. They're closer to their solution. Now you've got the rest of your marketing sequence to educate them and why your product is the best thing for them. Then you make the offer. Then you make the sale. That's how you convert. They say converting high converting sales pages. The sales page converts because the audience has been prepped. They're ready. They're not just sending them to a buy page. If they are, it's either a long form sales letter that walks them through the process that's really good and keeps them engaged, or it's a video sales letter or a webinar. That's where you can get the sale done in one shot, because you've got the time to educate them, to build the demand and desire, and make the offer in one place. So that's really important that you understand there needs to be a marketing process in place. You can't just grab traffic and throw it to a sales page. The only time that works is if you're very high up in the pyramid of awareness. In the training you learn about the pyramid of awareness. That's what level of awareness people are at. At the bottom of the pyramid, they're unaware. They might not even know they have a problem. They don't know you exist. They're not looking for a solution. They are unaware. That's the biggest segment of the market. So if you can grab your market there where they're unaware, and you can make them aware of a problem they weren't aware of just a minute ago, and then it becomes a bigger problem as you describe it, you move them up the pyramid. So the next level is the awareness, and they're probably looking for a solution. So that's a different piece. Now in the solution part, that's where they're getting educated. That's where you want to interact with them. That's where your marketing sequence can keep moving them up the pyramid. If you have a really good sequence, it will take them from unaware, making them aware, showing them the problem solution, introducing them to a product, and then making an offer. The offer's at the top of the pyramid. So if you're making an offer prior to all of those other steps, it's probably not going to convert. So if you had people that were, let's say they're on your list and they're educated, you've sent them marketing materials, you've created the demand, you've created the desire, you've eliminated the objections, you've presented the value, you've done all that stuff, you've pretty much got those people at the top of the pyramid. Now's the time to make an offer. Okay, so Andrew wants to know what a lead magnet is. A lead magnet is something that you give away in exchange for an email address. It's like an opt-in. It's like an ebook.
John, that wasn't what it was. It was.
Oh,
I know what a lead magnet is. God, that would be scary if I didn't know what that was. It was more the client that I'm actually working with at the moment. They're the main site. They're a supplement company, the one I was talking to you about. And their main site, they deal with all kinds of supplements, but it seems to me like their main one is Q10, which is all for blood sugar and all that kind of stuff, you know. And they're literally at the bottom of page 1 for most of the keywords.
Sure.
Now, what it looks like they've done is they've set up like a landing page for Q10, a landing page for whatever the other next product is for you know, basically there's a landing page, I think, for every kind of tablet that they do, right? There's no opt-in on that landing page, right? And they all direct them to the main site. When they actually want to buy. There's a very small buy button and a load of information. It's all hard-coded, and it takes them back to the main site. And I'm thinking the only thing that they could possibly benefit from that is like, you know, some kind of, perhaps the segmenting them from by retargeting or something like that. Yeah. But there's certainly no opt-in. There's certainly no opt-in on these forms. So I'm just trying to work out. I don't want to look like an idiot going in there with this and asking them to redesign things if it's working really well, and I can't tell if it is or not. Sure. So it could be. I don't know how to tell if they're actually using retargeting or not. But if they're not, it seems a bit daft what they're doing, because they're just sending all the traffic back to one opt-in, and the opt-in's at the bottom of the main site, which, guess what, says, do you want to subscribe to our news list? You know, and it's like, well, you know, so there's a lot of areas for improvement. But as regards these separate landing pages, it's kind of knocked me off kilter with how to go in, really. Okay.
Well, I can tell you a really good strategy for that. It sounds like they sell a lot of different types of supplements, and this would be the same thing for Mary Sue, who's on the call here too. She sells supplements as well. What you want to do is you want to identify the different groups of people that take the different types of supplements, and then you want to create a lead magnet for each one of those. Like the people that are interested in the Q10, they're interested in that for a specific reason, and you might have other products that also accompany that. Yeah. So if you identify what the problem is they're trying to solve with the Q10, and let's say you created a little blueprint or an ebook, like a one-page thing that said, hey, here's the things that address the concern of whatever this is. Yeah. And then you offer that not only on the Q10 page, but on all of the other pages that are in accompaniment with that. Right. That way you have a chance to put a tag on all of those people that they're interested in the Q10 problem. So now they're in your database. Now you can follow up with them and you can make the recommendation of all the other things that help.
Awesome.
So it's
Yeah.
all about segmentation and then figuring out for that segment what's important to these people.
Yeah.
You know, what's their problem? What do they need? You know, where are they at? And
Yeah.
that's really like the gold in all of this is segmentation.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it that way, you can figure out, okay, this is a market. This is a market I need to create a message for. And when you understand the market properly, then you can understand the message properly. When
Yeah.
you get the market and the message to connect, then you're really effective. Your marketing is working. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
And I'm thinking as well, would I be right in thinking using the tagging system as well? If I know that they've got one, if a customer's purchased one product, I know that I can leave them out of certain marketing campaigns and like include them in
Yes.
that are related as well, can't I?
Yes, exactly. And that's the whole key to effectively marketing through email.
Yeah.
You know, you want to use your list to email market to all the time, but you've got to do it effectively. If you send people irrelevant emails, they're going to opt out and you kill the list.
Yeah.
You never want to kill the list. Very important.
The only other thing that I would ask about that is they're a massive company, and I've got no idea what to charge them.
Okay.
You know,
Another thing that you could do, this is a really good opportunity for you with a massive company like that, because you could go in and you could actually make them an offer to deliver a service where you get paid by performance.
Right.
You could say, look, let me manage your list. I will send out the promotions and then you pay me 10% of the sales off of my promotions.
Right.
You know, there's people that are doing that. They will just go in and they'll manage someone else's list. They know how to do it. They just don't have their own list. So they'll go in and they'll use they'll use someone else's list to generate money for that company and then take a cut of it. And
so, you know, how do you actually track those analytics?
Well, if they've got, it depends on what system they're in. You could you could effectively track that pretty well through most systems.
Right.
You know, you could run special pages, special offers, and you could see the sales through that. If they don't have a system like that, then you probably want to get them into Kartra.
Yeah.
But if they're a big company, I'm pretty sure they've probably got systems in place to.
I would have thought so. I don't know what they are yet. I mean, they're like I mentioned, their biggest problem is they're receiving a load of data on a monthly basis from an agency, and they haven't got a clue what to do with it. You know, their main marketing, believe it or not, is offline still, and the main demographic, they're all dying. They're like between 70 and 90. You know, and it's like they need to get the marketing, you know, out there to everybody, and like sort of not rebrand because they don't want to. They don't want to change their sort of, I don't know what the word for it is, but you know, like the longevity that they've had in the marketplace. They want to keep that kind of, you know, I don't know what the word for it is.
Yeah,
but,
they probably don't need a rebrand. They basically just
want to be up to date, you know.
Yeah, they need to focus on the shifting marketplace.
Right.
Because if their market's dying, it's being replaced with a younger market. And that younger market thinks differently. The message is going to change.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Cheers, John.
Yeah, it's just like when the Yellow Pages went down. You know, the Yellow Pages, that was the place to be. You know, if you were a local business and you weren't in the Yellow Pages, you didn't exist. That was just the point in time that it was. But then when the internet came, there was a significant buyer shift. Buyers were no longer picking up that big book and thumbing through it. They were now scrolling through Google.
Yeah.
You know, and if you didn't shift, if you didn't recognize that buyer shift and you remained where you were, then you became a dinosaur. Yeah. And, you know, that's the same thing. When your market shifts, if you have a dying market and you're not focused on the emerging market, and seeing, you know, this emerging market might be different. They might speak a different language. And if you don't change your messaging, now you've got antiquated messaging and you're going to die just like a dinosaur. So
Yeah.
you got to shift with the times. No business ever remains the same. I mean, look at Kodak. Kodak didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
They were a monster company, selling film, and they did not pay attention when the digital age, the digital revolution came in, and they got swept off their feet because the market shifted, the market changed, and they didn't change with it.
That's an excellent example. Yeah.
That I mean, think about that. Who could have beaten Kodak at their own game? They were too big. They were so well established. Yet the market shifted, and they didn't pay attention, and it cost them. A lot of businesses right now, you'll see they're going under because they're not paying attention to the market shifts.
Yeah.
Really important. That's your analysis. When you're not focused on your analysis of your market, you could really cost yourself. Markets always shift. People don't change. We all react the same way as we always have, but our awareness shifts. New things come in. The message might be the same, but maybe the media changed. The medium, rather. Like with the Yellow Pages, the message didn't necessarily change, but the medium changed. Where they intercepted the message changed. That was a monumental shift. When those shifts happen and you're not paying attention, you can lose it all. You could literally be on the streets before you know it. And I had that in my own business when I was a commercial photographer. I did high-end special effects photography. And, I was highly paid. That was a dream job. But then digital came around, and I saw Photoshop come up, and I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be the end of this game real soon, and I'm going to be out of a job. And when I saw that,
done that way with me in audio.
Yeah. That shift. Luckily, I saw it before it happened, and I shifted gears, so I never really felt the downfall. By the time I had shifted into the online realm, the other one was starting to go down, and this one was going up. So I didn't miss a beat. But it was because I saw that coming. I was paying attention. I've had other businesses in the past where I didn't pay attention and suffered the consequences. So.
Awesome, thanks, John. Are you using that Kartra agency now?
No, I did not shift up to the agency, and the reason was they didn't really make it very incentived.
I thought that,
they're charging $1,000 a year for it, and all they're doing is they're allowing you to buy the accounts for 40% off, which is the same as they would pay you as an affiliate. So that's why I didn't move up to it.
Okay, well, I guess that's me for now, John. Thanks.
All right, my pleasure. Dina, you got your hand up there.
Okay, so I got a question, not having to do with segmentation. I hope that's okay.
No problem. We're open to
Okay.
anything here.
Okay, so I have my web person working on 2 different sites. I had my previous site, but I decided that I wanted to completely scrap it and redo it. I know that's terrible that we didn't migrate the content, but I wanted to just do 100% different. So I'm sure that probably hurt me SEO wise, but I'm hoping that bringing it back, that's some of the questions that I have. So when I open it back up with the new content, how many blogs should I reopen it with, since I completely restarted it fresh from like a fresh slate with keywords? Like preload it with how many good keyword driven like blogs before I go ahead and open it up?
Well, you can open it up right away. You don't have to have a bunch of content to get it started.
Okay.
You can drip the content in as you go. That's actually probably better. It's better that Google sees new content being, come into the fold. But even better than that, you want to make sure you're not creating content that's not going to get engaged with.
Okay.
You don't, like these days, this is one of those monumental shifts in SEO that we have to pay attention to. It's no longer about how much content that you have. It's about how it's reacted to. So rather than creating 50 pages, one for each keyword, I would rather figure out what people are interested in and create the pages there and then load the content keywords into those pages.
Okay.
So don't create your pages based on keywords anymore. Create your
Okay.
pages based on buyer intent or user intent.
Okay. So then I'm going to ask you another question. So of course I do a lot of engagement on social media, but for the website, it's a little bit different. So engagement there, as long as they're staying on a video or they're going through page by page and they're falling in the rabbit hole of content and they're continuing to stay, as far as Google's concerned, that's considered engagement, even if they're not commenting. As long as they're flipping through the pages and spending time on the website and interacting by clicking.
Yeah, there's a couple of kinds of engagement when it comes to Google and their artificial intelligence. One of the things for engagement is, are people clicking through?
Okay.
And then what happens after they click through? The other is general overall traffic. Do these pages get traffic from sources outside of Google? Which, for you, being the social media queen, you have all kinds of ways to drive traffic, which is great. That's really good for SEO.
So they consider that like backlinks if I'm just saying from the YouTube, hey, check out the website, or read my blog post from Instagram, stuff like that. So they consider that a backlink.
Yeah, it's not only backlinks, it's actually traffic flowing through the backlinks.
Okay.
Because just like content, it's not about quantity anymore. Backlinks is the same thing. It's not about the quantity of backlinks, it's about the volume of traffic each one pushes. So let's say you figure out, in SEMrush, if you're not using SEMrush, that's a really valuable tool for figuring out your content.
Okay.
Your keywords. That is a great tool. I use that tool every day. And I would say, of all the SEO tools that I use, that's the one I would favor over all of them.
Okay.
For intelligence and just learning the market. And they've got a section in there for content now that will actually give you content recommendations based on any keyword. So if you want,
I think that's what you showed us, right? It was
Yeah.
super fascinating. Okay.
Yeah,
And that's with the paid version that's like $30 a month, right?
I think the paid version is like $90, $89 or something like that. But it's totally worth it. I mean, if you're in the business, it's a totally worthwhile expense. If you're not, you can use the free version of it. And you can get probably enough out of that. But for you to be able to put a keyword in and find out, what the market is really interested in related to that keyword, and then create content around that, that's really valuable.
What rating on when you're looking at that key content? Obviously, you don't want to try to rank for the most popular. So is there kind of like a little range, like 24 or some kind of little number off to the side that's searched enough, but not so much that you're competing with like the highest of the high in that niche?
Well, I wouldn't really be too concerned with that anymore, because let's say you've got the highest of highs, right?
Okay.
And you're never going to rank for that keyword. That doesn't matter. If that content is hot, I would create the article anyway.
Okay.
Because what might happen is that article might rank for all of the low-hanging fruit keywords, which are just as good.
Okay.
And there's thousands of them. You might not rank for the one big one, and that's okay, because you'll still get trickles of traffic off of all the other little ones, which can add up over time. It's more important that you create good content that's going to help your users, that they're actually interested in, so you can pull them in, because when you do that, you're going to be much more apt to get them on your mailing list. And that, as from the beginning of the call, that's really the golden goose here, is to capture them. Like whether you're doing social media or you're doing paid ads or whatever kind of traffic that you're involved with, the whole goal behind it should be to build your list, build your database, because that's your business. That's your core business. Let's say, we're doing paid ads and we're doing SEO and we're doing social media. We're doing it all, right? Let's say we're doing it all and we're spending X amount of $1,000 per month. And we're building a list, we're building a list, we're building a list. And then all of a sudden something goes sideways. Let's say Google decides that they don't like us anymore. And, like let's say we're in CBD oil. And all of a sudden something happens, and all of a sudden the advertisers think you've got dirt on your shoes. And your traffic goes away. What do? You got a big old list that you built. You can market to that for the next 10 years. So it's like totally safeguarding your business when you do this way. You're not dependent upon what's going on today for your livelihood. You're not dependent upon, like, if Google stops or they shut off your SEO, you're not going to die because you've done things right. You've built the list. You're dependent on the list, not the daily traffic.
Do you think having the construction mode sign up with Google indexing that is terrible, like while they're working on redoing both the sites? I mean, does that totally kill it, or it'll just recover as soon as it opens and I start dripping content into both those sites?
I've heard things both way. I don't have any definitive answer whether it actually hurts you or not.
Okay.
I don't know that it would help you really for any reason.
Okay.
What I would do rather than the under construction is I would put an opt-in. I would put, hey, we're working on
yes, good idea.
content. If you would like to be the first one to be notified when the fresh stuff is up, go ahead and opt in here.
Great idea.
And tell them what you're working on and tell them why it's going to be so important to them. Not just sign up for my newsletter. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't just
got to give them the benefits, right?
Yeah, exactly. Give them
Here's
the
what's
reason.
in it for you. On the pages that Google doesn't really index, if I'm correct in this, like your regular pages, like your privacy policy and just your static pages, your sales pages, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really need to focus on any of the keywords in that? I mean, because it's not really, I mean, it counts it, but not really toward like a blog or towards your videos.
Well, Google by nature wants to index every page. So there's a tag that you can put in your meta tags that is a do not index tag.
Okay.
So if you put the do not index tag like on your policy pages and all that, basically all you're really telling Google is, these pages aren't important. I don't want anybody to be finding them. That's really all you're doing. So if that's the case, then yeah, if you don't want them found, you probably don't need to worry about any of that stuff.
Is it better to do that if it's a page where it doesn't really need to index? You need your customers to go there, but it's not really something that needs to be indexing in Google.
I would put the stuff up anyway because somebody might be looking for it. Like they might be looking for Petrelli Reviews policies, and they should be able to find it.
Oh yeah, well that one that one needs to be up because it's part of the DCM whatever act or whatever. That one I know that one has to be visible.
And the fact that your brand is connected to some of this stuff, it's really important to get those brand searches.
Okay.
So
leave them open when they were open before, but I was just wondering now that they're doing the remodel if it should. Yeah. And then since I've got the other site coming online, I'm just like, well, right from the start with the brand new one and the remodel of the other one, I'm just like, let's see exactly what we need to do. Now, as far as load times, is it bad to be embedding the videos? Because they're not really housed on the website. They're through YouTube. So like, that's not messing up anything there, right?
No, so when you have YouTube videos and you're housing them on your website, you're embedding them.
Right. Like iframe?
Yeah. You're basically using YouTube embeds, which is an iframe. One of the things, like for SEO, when you put the video on the site, whatever the title is for the video, like the title in YouTube, take that title and put it right below the video and center it and bold it and link it back to YouTube. For some reason, Google likes that. I don't know why.
Because it's their brand.
But they like that.
They like to know you're sending traffic back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so same exact title. And then instead of housing those on their own individual page, do a blog post with the video to maximize the wording. And then also if they just want to watch it, they can watch it or they can read it. But for Google, it kind of seems to like both on the same page.
You can put multiple videos on the same page. That's not an issue. That's not a problem.
But not do like one page where it's just your continuous videos without any blogs. Because I thought about doing it in the blog with the blog like I used to do, where it would have the blog plus the embedded video. But then I kind of wanted to do one in the navigation menu at the top that just says videos for people who just don't like to read. They literally could just go in and just look at series that they want to follow, especially for the fashion stuff on the other site.
For interaction, though, here's another thing you want to consider. The more internal links that get clicked on your site, the more interaction that's showing Google. So if you were to break that up, and let's say you were to put one video per page and then a link to the next video, you would be doing yourself a favor.
Okay, I like that idea better. Okay, so that's a good solution.
Not just a link. Don't just put a link. Put a link to what they're going to get and why they want to do it. Always put the benefits. Like a link is a call to action. So if you put a link without the call to action of why to click on it, they probably won't. Literally, physically, tell them, click this link to get, and then hit them with the benefit. Tell them what they're going to get out of it.
So if I'm creating a back page, which is kind of like, if you're familiar with like Linktree and all that, where on the social media things, you can only use one link. So I want to create this back page that's almost like a Linktree, but I would like to make it more SEO friendly or take advantage of SEO on that instead of just having like you said, just having link. What do you think the best way to optimize that page that's housed on my own website, almost like my own link tree for those socials? Like what would be the best way do you think videos is the way to do it, like you said, with that tag, and kind of try to route them around the website for the other things? Or
the more you can move them around the site, like sites that are really good at this are entertainment sites. If you go to any like the e-entertainment or movie, places that have movie listings and stuff like that, they are typically really good at this game. And they've learned it from like the National Enquirer, and they've learned it from late night TV where it advertises the late night news. They hook you on getting you to watch the 11 o'clock news. They can hook you to get you to stay up. And it's an absolute crap story in 3 seconds, but you have stayed.
Right, and it's always at the end.
Yeah. The story is never as good as the hook. So what they've done is they've learned how to do this on the web, and it'll say like Leonardo DiCaprio just bought a $10 million home in Beverly Hills, and 5 other people bought more expensive homes. Click here to see who they are and where they live. Or another really good one I saw was it showed a picture of Cindy Brady. And do you know what she looks like now? Click here to see what she looks like now.
I clicked there. I wanted to see.
Yeah, and then you click it.
See, Melinda knows what I'm talking about. She must have clicked it too.
Yeah. You click it, and then it leads you to like 50 other people for the same thing. And by the time you know it, you've wasted 2 hours, and
right, you fell in the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and you've dug 50 pages deep on this site that you had absolutely no interest in. If you can figure out how to do that for your own site, you will do yourself a huge favor.
Okay. What about podcasts? Do you have a preference? Like, I took down all my live radio shows from before that we had previously, and I'm just going to start fresh with new. And I'm just wondering if there's a different way. Last time they were housed on like Apple and the actual radio show. Um,
Okay.
they had it there, but now I'm kind of
Well,
thinking I want like a player instead of just embedding the link, like a player on the site. But is that not a good idea?
well, here's the thing. Here's the overlying strategy for content across the entire internet. You want to have your content everywhere that they will take it.
Okay.
So having your podcasts on all the podcast places is great. The purpose of that is a lead generator to either get them to opt in for something or get them onto your site where you can get them to opt in for something. So all of those podcasts should also live, all of that content should also live on your site. And you should hide a lot of it. Like when I did that, I did the radio show thing for a year. And the reason that I did it, I had a specific strategy for it. The reason I did it was I was positioning myself to interview the masters of marketing. So I would bring top people out of marketing onto my podcast. I would interview them, and in exchange for that, I had them do a promo out for me. Like Dave D, like from Glazier Kennedy. I interviewed him on my deal in the Masters of Marketing. And then in turn, he did a promo out for me. Now, what I did, I don't put those all publicly available. I put the list of them publicly available. And then for you to listen to it, you can opt in and you get access to all of the Masters of Marketing recordings.
How'd you gate those up? Did you put them like in a back end of a membership site or something and make it content like that?
Yeah.
With a plugin? Was that a WordPress or something else?
Well, I did it in a member at the time, but now I would just do it with Kartra.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I can plug those into a Kartra membership, and I can create a Kartra opt-in and a Kartra access, and away we go. But that's what I did. I gated them behind so everyone could get access to all of them. I didn't need them to opt in for every one, although I could have had them opt in for each one. That actually would have given me more intel as to what they were interested in. But at the time, I was just kind of looking for a good way to just build the list. I'm always looking for ways to build my list. So that was my strategy, was build the list on this side and then expose myself to much more people through the affiliate promo with the other person. So that was my strategy of why I was doing the podcast. I didn't take it to the next level and I didn't distribute the podcasts all over. That wasn't why I was doing it.
So you didn't have it at like Podbean or Apple or anything like that. You hid it behind and used it as a lead magnet.
Yeah, I could have. I probably should have. It would have helped my SEO, but it wasn't really part of my core strategy at the time.
No, I get it. I totally understand what you were doing. So it makes sense for what you were using it for.
Yeah, because that's what I always do. I create a strategy based on, an analysis, and then I create whatever the mechanism is to fulfill the strategy, and then try and drive the right traffic to it. So
awesome. Thank you.
Kind of sounds like an ACT process.
I got to get into my videos. I know.
Oh,
thank you, John.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, go ahead, Melinda. I know you had a question there.
I'm not sure if it's a question or a tirade or a statement or what, but so thank you for saying just a moment ago that you're redoing everything, because I have been just really boogered with my website. And I thought, what am I going to do? It is really a piece of, as we say down in Cajun, South Louisiana, a piece of caca. I mean, there's no opt-in. There's really no reason to go to my website. Even the information is not complete there. I'm struggling, and I don't want to struggle because I've done that for so long, and I'm ready to begin really manifesting, knowing, and learning. So what do I build a page in Kartra? Do you build a website in Kartra? I'm sorry to ask these really basic questions. I really don't know anything about this. Do I need to hire another person? I know that, John, I know you've been really helpful for me, but I don't even know what questions to ask at this point in time.
Sure. What you want to do is you want to put the brakes on building stuff. So you don't want to rebuild the website. You don't want to hire a designer. You don't want to do any of that right now.
Okay.
What you want to do is you want to figure out who is your market.
Got it.
You want to figure out what's important to them. What is a good lead magnet that you could create to get them to opt in? And then what's the sequence behind that you could take them through a marketing process to educate them as why you're the ultimate solution for them. And then you make them an offer. Once you've got that figured out, then we take a step back and we say, okay, now we've got some pieces. Now we need to build something.
Okay.
Now we create a website out of that. We don't just throw a bunch of crap up and build another stack of caca.
Smelly caca too. And so you've told me this before, and it's not like I'm not listening to you. I have started doing the marketing research and everything, but so for the time being, I mean, I do have people who are referring me, and so people do go to my website, but I never get any feedback on it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I'm, quite frankly, a little too embarrassed to ask for feedback, although that's probably the wrong approach. But so just leave the website as it is. And so as I'm discovering who my target market is.
Yeah, because here's the thing with your website and the reason you're not getting feedback or the right feedback. Most people have the same problem. They build a website, and the only people that go to it are their friends that they ask to go to it.
Right.
You know, or they go onto their social media, which a lot of times their social media followers might be their friends, not really prospects.
Exactly.
So it's not the right audience. Like,
exactly.
A lot of us are in Craig Duswalt's group. So we go on to Craig's, mastermind forum in his Facebook page, and we say, hey, can you guys give us some feedback? And you get feedback, but it's not your target audience, so it doesn't really matter. So what you want to do is you want to focus on figuring out your actual real target market. What's the right messaging for them? What's important to them? What is a lead magnet that would be very valuable to them? And then you want to build that out. And now it comes to the T in ACT. That's the traffic portion.
Right. Okay.
And that's about targeting your actual audience. That's where paid advertising comes in. That's where, like, I think on last week's call, I was really focused on knowing your numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how much you could spend to drive traffic to your offers. And when I say your offers, I'm really talking about your opt-in, because that's the beginning piece. We want to drive them to that so we can build the list, so we can market to them to create that demand and desire, eliminate objections, and make an offer. And if the offer doesn't work, then we start the process over and we do it again. We go until they buy or they die. We don't want the buy or die to be a single decision on one landing page and the game's over.
Exactly. Yeah.
We want them to actually be hit so many times they opt out because they just don't want it. And then, okay, we're clear now. We move on to the next one.
So what are the methods that I use to find these clients? I've been doing like keyword searches. I've been doing like conflict resolution in LinkedIn to see if, what's been coming up with that. Can you offer any input on how do I find that niche, that target niche?
Sure. So with you, you call your thing conflict resolution.
Right.
What you need to know is, what does your prospect call it?
Call it.
Because if they don't call it the same thing you do, then you're speaking a different language and you're not communicating effectively.
Okay.
And the other thing is, if that's not their language, that's not something they're going to be searching for. So if you build your whole brand around something that they don't know and they don't care, that's kind of a recipe for disaster for a foundational standpoint. Like, I just had somebody yesterday, they contacted me and they said, hey, I need your help. I'm starting a new business and I'm creating a logo and a Facebook page and all this stuff. And, I find out the logo is with a dog and it's a cosmetics company. I'm like, really?
A dog wears makeup.
That's interesting. So again, it was, they jump into creation before they've got the message, or before they've figured out who the market is. If it's pet products and pet cosmetics, then by all means, dog is the way to go, or cat, or whatever your market's all about. But, that it's really, really for any kind of business, if you look at successful businesses, either they did it right or they got lucky. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you get an idea and everything just falls into place. The problem with that is you can't replicate it.
I'm sorry. Sources for doing that research.
SEMrush is a gold mine for that research, because
that's what you just talked about.
Yeah, because what you can do, if you put conflict resolution or business conflict into there, it will come up with all the relevant topics of what people are actually looking for. That will be a much better crystal ball into seeing, what your market is really after and what's really important to them.
Okay.
So that's a great one. Like I said, that's the one I just would never give up. If I had to give up all my tools and I could only keep one, I would keep that one.
Okay. And so wearing all of the hats that I'm wearing, is this one of the things that I could use the marketing interns for?
Let me just tell you this, and this is not just for you, Melinda, this is for everybody. This is for everybody. This is the most important thing you'll ever do in your business career, is understand this process.
Okay.
And, truly, whether you're doing this business or you shift gears tomorrow and you're looking at a new opportunity, when you have these goggles on, it'll tell you if it's a real opportunity or not.
Okay, I got it.
So you really need to get this under your belt, whether you wind up doing the mechanical stuff on the end of it or not.
Okay.
Because you're going to drive your ship. When your interns come in, they're not going to know as much as you do about your market. So you're going to have to guide them, and you're going to need to really get a good understanding of this process.
Okay.
So, all the tech stuff, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. You can outsource that. Like you've seen, I can do that stuff in the snap of a finger. I can fix that stuff about as fast as you can tell me what you want.
Yeah.
So, and it would take you weeks and endless frustration.
Yes, it would.
You don't.
But I'm working on it. I'm determined.
Yeah, you need to be the strategist, the engineer behind the scenes. And all the rest of the stuff you can outsource. So yeah, you can get the interns to do all the rest of that stuff, absolutely. But you really need to drive the process, and you need to understand your market. You need to, be able to effectively create the messaging. And then the interns can do all the legwork. They can do all the posting and the, building sites and, whatever you need done. That can all be done.
Okay.
You just need a very clear understanding of what you need done. Like
yes, I do know.
You come up with, okay, here's my perfect lead magnet. Now you can go over to Fiverr, or you can get an intern and say, hey, make me a graphic that represents this. Make me a PDF that I can give away. Go ahead and hook that up in an opt-in page for me. You don't need to know how to do all that stuff.
Okay.
You need to know what the PDF is and what the message is that's getting delivered, what's important to your customer. You really need to focus on the communication between you and your customer and let everyone else worry about the deliverables.
Okay.
Because the deliverables, for somebody that knows how to do that, that's easy. But they don't, that most of them are not going to be masters of the communication like you need to be.
Okay. All right.
And this is for everybody. I mean, you should know your business. You should be the expert. If you can't effectively communicate that and you don't care about your customer and you don't understand their needs or care, then there's a problem there. You're probably not going to be real successful.
Okay.
So, you know, but the more you show you care, the more they're going to feel it and the more they're going to resonate and bond with you. So rather than speaking the language of conflict resolution, if you got down in the dirt with them and figured out what they're up against, what they're feeling, and you start talking about that, you're going to all of a sudden have their ear. You know, I talk about it like bar conversation. How would you speak to someone in a bar? If you sat down next to somebody and they were grumbling about, you know, how bad their day was, and you just ask, hey, you know, what happened? And they tell you, and you say, oh, wow, you know, that happened to me one time, and you know, here's what it did, and it was just that problem just magically disappeared and it never came back. You know, all of a sudden you're speaking like a human, and you're speaking to them in a way that is caring.
Yeah, speaking with them.
Yeah,
not at them.
If you can create your marketing message to match that, you're going to be very successful. But you can't do that without the analysis piece. You've got to get down in the dirt with them and see, you know, where are they? What's happening? What are they feeling? What are they hearing? What are they going through? So you can communicate with them.
Okay.
You know, you've got to mirror them. So sometimes you got to go down on their level. And then you mirror them and you lead them out. You lead them out of the dark hole.
Got it.
But if you can't mirror them to begin with, they'll never be attracted to you to be led out of the dark hole.
Okay. All right.
So,
thank you. I apologize for taking so much time, but I'm
no. What you're up against is very important, not just to you, but to everyone. So don't ever apologize for taking too much time.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to thank you for allotting that time, because it's very important.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. And everybody. Awesome.
All right, let's see. Anybody else got anything? I'm going to look through the questions. Right, I know a lot of questions in the chat. Let's see. Okay, we've covered that one. I think I've covered a lot of this stuff. Tammy asked, do they promo about you on their show? I think that's back to when I was doing the radio show. Yes, I would promote them to my audience, and they would promote me out to theirs. So that's how that worked. Marlene is asking, what are valuable lead magnets for the medical service business? The most valuable, and this goes for anybody, the most valuable lead magnet is going to be something that addresses and solves an immediate problem. So if your customer, whoever they are, look at it from the timeline perspective. We have a lesson on timeline, and the timeline says this is where your prospect is, and on the other end of the timeline, this is where they want to be. What does it take to get them from where they are to what they want to be, and what's the first step? What's the first hurdle they're going to have to overcome to move toward their goal? And that's your best lead magnet, is something that solves an immediate problem they can get a little bit of relief from almost instantly.
Okay.
Even if it is just information. Maybe they just are confused because they don't know something. So you give them the information, and what that does, it advances them down the timeline, and it changes the timeline. Because now they're in a different spot. Their perspective changes, and so does the timeline. You need to understand this when you're building out your marketing program. Because where you bring them in, you're going to have to lead them through the process before you make an offer. If you make the offer prematurely, they won't be ready and you'll be out of sequence and you'll fail. So you've got to be able to lead them through. And as you educate them, they become different people. They're no longer, by the time you make your offer, they should no longer be the same person as when you met them. They should be in a better place. The better place that they are when you make your offer, the more willing they'll be to spend the money to take the offer. And the more they'll be willing to pay. You know, that is one of the big things. The closer you get them to the golden goose, the more valuable it becomes. Because at first, when it's off in the distance, and yeah, they want it, but maybe they don't even believe it's possible. That's not worth much. Something that's not possible, you wouldn't pay for. But if you take them through the process and you show them it is possible and you move them toward it and toward it and toward it to now they're only a couple of steps from it, what's it worth now? It's worth a lot, yeah. So when would you make your offer? When it's worth a lot, not when it's worthless. If you make an offer and you haven't built the value yet, you won't get very high conversion. That's what conversion's all about. It's building up to make the right offer at the right time to get yes the most percentage. So that's what it's all about, and that's the process. You know, that's marketing. That's a marketing campaign. That's why they're so important. That's why every one of us needs one. We all need a marketing campaign. You know, it's like a salesperson. If you take a really good salesperson, I know I've said this probably almost on a weekly basis, but I'm going to say it again because it's so important. A good salesperson, that's what they do. They ask questions, they find out what's important to you, and they feed your own words back to you. They mirror you, and they position the offer to what they know is important to you. And they make a very high close ratio. If you have a salesperson that's not following that process, they're probably not making a lot of money because they're probably not closing a lot of sales, and they're not very effective. Usually they're looking for a new job real soon. So that's what you got to do. You got to take the process that works, take what would work as a sales process in your business, turn that into a marketing process using the language of your ideal customer. You do that, I can almost guarantee you're going to be very successful in what you do. So you know, back to, you know, what makes the best lead magnet. It's a really good lead magnet, and I have a great video I'm going to put up for you guys in the membership site later today. I'm going to put it up where we talk about lead magnets in the creation process, and it's Andy Jenkins, and this is a video he made to actually sell Kartra. Now, think about that. Andy has been doing this for a long time. He's made millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars selling stuff online. And he's breaking down the exact process of how to build a lead magnet, what makes a good lead magnet, and actually how to construct it. And he'll show you how to do it and outsource it, the whole enchilada. But what he talks about is the same thing. He talks about figuring out what's most important to your customer, what's the first step, what's a first problem that you can solve for them almost immediately. It's got to be bite-sized. Like a book is not a good lead magnet. Nobody wants to read a book. If they have to read an entire book to solve a problem, that's not what we're talking about here. It's got to be instant. It's got to be like a one-pager, maybe a two-pager, but it's just a small bit that solves a problem, gives them a little bit of relief, and shows them what the next step is. Because ultimately, that's what you want. You want them to be moving in a direction toward your offer. So your next step, you might give them another lead magnet. You might deliver the first one. Now they're already opted in, so you say, why would I give them another one? Well, there's a really good reason, because the more you help them, the more you move them toward their desired outcome, Just like I said a minute ago, the more it becomes possible and the more it becomes, the more, the more value it has. It's worth more. So when it comes time to make your offer, if you've positioned yourself where it's very valuable, you're going to make the sales. So that's what it's all about. It's about finding what's important to them. What is the first problem you can solve to give them hope and move them toward what they want. That's what it's all about. And everyone's going to be different. You know, every one of you is going to have different stuff to do that. So that's where you need to put on your wizard hat and figure that stuff out.
Sorting hat.
Yeah, but always base it on your person. You have to literally become them. You need to step into their body for a minute and figure out, you know, God, if this was me, if I was here, and in many cases, you guys, what you're doing, you know this because you had the problem to begin with.
Exactly.
You know, you've created your own solution and now you're selling it. So a lot of you, this will be easy. All you have to do is just take a little trip back in memory lane and put yourself back there and say, God, what was I feeling? How hopeless was I? Did I even think there was a solution? And you know, where were you? If someone could have come and give you something to give you some instant relief, what would that have been? You know, a lot of times you'll have the answers because you are your ideal prospect in many cases. I know a lot of people on here, that's the case. You know, you are the one. So just, you know, there's your analysis right there. It's internal. There's no tool out on the internet that's going to tell you that stuff. You either have to know it from being it, or you have to know it from experiencing it with your prospects. You know, like a psychologist doesn't have to have been suicidal to know what's important to that person. You know, that doesn't have to be them. It's not that way in all cases, but they have to definitely have experienced enough of those people to know where they are and know, you know, what they're all about.
Right.
So, but in some cases, it is going to be you. Not always, but if it's you, that's great because, you know, it's easy for you to go back and relive that and re-experience that. Gay is asking if you can connect more than one website to a single Kartra account. Yes, absolutely. You can create as many campaigns, as many lists. You can have an unlimited amount of lists and all of that. Not a problem.
Okay, so multiple mailing.
Yep.
Do the mailing lists come from the separate email, separate website accounts set up?
Yeah, in the integration part, you can create multiple integrations for the email. So if you want the email to go out to a particular list, that's where you select in the drop down which mailing it's from.
Okay.
So really cool. The only problem with that, like for me, I was thinking about that. I was thinking, wow, I could do this for some of my customers, but sometimes I will send a generic list out to my whole list, and that might throw a wrench in the works. I'd have to really be cognizant of when I was sending emails, how to segment them.
Right. Well, something that has come up for me recently is that through my cancer journey, I had 10 people connect to me in the last couple of days on what I did to get through it and how I survived and on to that. And so it's kind of come up as an idea to do might be an opportunity to do an online class or a support group. The support groups I went to were like AA meetings. Hi, I take these meds and I've been on it for this many years, and there was no emotional support. Oh,
hell yeah. I mean, look at that. If you could take a step back to, you know, a year ago when you were just getting started into that, what would it have been worth to have someone there to hold your hand?
Exactly. And that's where this has kind of evolved from, because I, just put up a couple of posts on an Instagram account yesterday, and I got 40 responses in 2 days, and people wanting to talk to me and everything. So
yeah, you could create a phenomenal thing around that. You could probably make all the money you'd ever want out of that, because you have a pretty good sized market that's facing that problem.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, think about that. What would that have been worth to you at the time you were going through it, to have someone and actually have hope and have somebody guide you through that process?
Yes. So that's kind of what I grabbed onto.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's the thing. I mean, a lot of times we are the reason for our product.
Yeah.
That happens in many cases.
Took me a while to get to this step, but hey, and it wasn't the process I really would have liked to have gone, but
Yeah, I've thought about that many times over the years. I actually bought a website for something I wanted to do for a long time, and it's called Former Fat Guys. and basically it's for me to lose 100 pounds and be a former fat guy, and then have the contrast of my brother who didn't lose the weight, went the other way and passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So former fat guys, one because he made it, one because he didn't.
Very well said.
There's a really big message there.
Well, the name I came up with was Hope Can't Survive.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, talk about matching your message because you knew who you're talking to.
Yes.
That's where magic happens. That's where, sometimes people just get lucky, and sometimes they're doing it based on a process like what we do. But yeah, that's awesome. I don't see how you could go wrong with that one.
All right, I'll put the pedal to the metal and start driving.
Yeah, figure out your lead magnet and start building a mailing list.
Yes.
And then, go ahead and take all the stuff that you did and create affiliate relationships.
Yeah.
So you can make money along the way, because, you're providing assistance, and you get a little bit of payment all the way through the process.
Absolutely.
Even if they're not paying you, you could do this for free. You could allow them free into your membership, and you just make the recommendations, to all the stuff that they need, and you get paid along the way.
Okay.
That's another way to do it, because a lot of times, people, when they hit a situation like that and they're in crisis, they put the brakes on paying for anything except what they absolutely have to have.
Yeah. So and that's something I've been very much cognizant about, is because right now funds are very, very depleted because of chemo. It's $86,000 a treatment.
Yeah. So figure out, all the side stuff that you had to buy, and figure out if there's affiliate relationships there where you can soothe their pain and get paid for it.
Yeah. Can Kartra do 2 membership components, or are they?
Oh, yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
You can have multiple membership sites. You can have multiple help desks.
Because we're talking about sharing the Kartra account.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything really that you can't have multiple of in Kartra.
Perfect.
It's pretty much made for that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else before we wrap up here? I know we've gone a little bit over our hour, but I'm always willing to stay on as long as it takes.
Hey, John.
Hey, Russ. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Awesome.
Do you care to elaborate on the email that you sent out about the interns and working for you and using the ACT system to train them?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we talked about that last week, and I know a lot of people couldn't find the link, so that's why I sent it out to everybody. But when you hire these, or actually you're not hiring them, they're coming to work for you as they call themselves apprentices. But basically, it's an intern program, and what it is, it's a give and take from both sides. What they're giving you is they're giving you free labor. What they're taking is they're taking mentorship and guidance. So a lot of times that's the problem. Most people don't know how to guide them and mentor them. So what you could do is you could just put them into your ACT program, have them go through the training, have them get on the calls and ask whatever questions they want on your behalf, and have them create marketing campaigns for you, or have them create lead magnets for you, or whatever it is that you need. That's what I was referring to there is, I'm happy to train them for you.
So how would I add them to my ACT account? Is there a way to add them, or they would just use my login?
Basically, yeah, you just give them your login for it.
Okay.
Just let them log in, and then if you get to the end and you don't want them in there anymore, you can just change your password.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
That's how you do it. But yeah, that's a great resource. That is really cool, and that's why I sent it out. I had a lot of people said they couldn't find it. I went in, it was in the resource section, but it was down under the miscellaneous section.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it is on there, but anyway, I just sent it out to everybody. And I made it easy too. I actually created a short link for it, internetdominators.com/intern.
Okay.
If you can't find it, just put intern on the end of my website and you'll get it.
Where did you hear about that program?
I actually heard from Bill Kelly. Sent me an invite to it. He had told me he was using it and they'd been very successful with it and thought I might be interested. So when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I've got I think I've got 3 of them now that are going through the training, and they're so grateful because the training they're getting through my system is so far superior to what they've learned to date. They are so thankful for the training and the mentorship. So they're getting huge value. So then what I'm hoping is I get the huge value back when they come to helping me.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
A lot of times, they give back what they get, and if they don't get much mentorship and training from you, then they're not much use. So.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Cool. All right, guys. Well, anything else before we wrap up here? Is that a yes or a goodbye?
Well, let's say I'm signed into the ACT program, correct?
Yes.
That's correct. Okay. Now, is that the same thing as apprenticeship or not? I'm a bit confused there.
Apprenticeship is a higher level ACT program. The ACT Apprentice program is where I'm actually working with you to create your campaigns.
Okay.
So ACT is kind of a done by you. Apprentice is done with you.
Okay.
So like in a lot of cases, I'll be working together with you, creating the big ideas. You'll fill out the form. I'll actually write the big idea for you. Same thing with the offer. You fill out a form, then I actually write the offer for you. So I'm actually ultimately crafting your messages for you, which is really helpful for a lot of people because they get the concept, but they don't get the actual skill set to do the final writing.
Okay. So my progress is I'm focusing on crafting my packages. I got 3 or 4 brands. On our meeting on the 25th, we'll boil it down at that point, and then we'll proceed from there. What happens next? Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, and we'll be back on next week. So trudge forward. Again, get in, watch the videos. Really come up to speed on this process. This is a very valuable process. And then get in and, ask away. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions on here. All right. Well, have a great week, and we will talk to you guys next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.